And okay, here we go. Hey everybody, today I'm posting from the basement because a lot of what happened around this place this week occurred right here behind me where the air conditioning and the heating unit is. Um, you may already know some of this just because I talked about it a little bit on the internet earlier this week. But during the polar vortex insanity earlier in the week, when the temperatures got down to -7 and the wind chill was in the -20s and -30s, predictably, our heater decided to stop working. And this was on Monday. And of course, this unit itself is only about 2 years old, a little over 2 years old, completely brand new. We put the whole thing in just a couple of years ago. It's really fancy. It's got blinky lights. And if you follow my conversations with HVAC9000 on Twitter, you know that I have sort of a love-hate relationship with it. Anyway, that just sounds weird, I know. But anyway, we thought we would be okay. But of course, the house wasn't heating up like we wanted it to. So we turned on the emergency heat, which, helps supplement the heat pump because if you're some of my friends from the south, you may think, well, we have heat pumps all the time. Yes, that's true. But up here north of the Mason-Dixon line, heat pumps don't exactly help because they draw, I'm no physicist, but they draw heat from the air, and when it gets super crazy cold, there's not a lot of heat in the air, and so you need extra heating help, which is supposed to happen right up here in this thing. This is the supplementary heating unit that has heat strips that turn on one or two or three depending on how cold it is and how hot you want it. Well, those things weren't working. Neither one, neither two, neither three. We had them on, and the temperature in the house kept dropping. The school was already canceled for the day because it was crazy cold. And so the kids were home, and we were home, and Linda had a fire going in the fireplace. Actually, I take that back. I was at work. I came home a little bit early. Linda stayed home with the kids. She had the fireplace roaring. She did a great job with the fire. The house still smells a little bit like bacon to this, even today, several days later, just because we burned wood in the fireplace continuously for like 8 or 10 hours. Definitely the longest we've ever done it. And that heated a 3-foot square radius in front of the fireplace. But everybody had on hats and gloves and coats and blankets. And even so, the temperature was, in the 60s. It was uncomfortable a little, but it wasn't that bad. But the temperature kept dropping into the mid-60s and then into the lower 60s. And we tried, turning on the emergency heat, and it wasn't helping. It was dropping even to the high 50s. And then it was time to go to bed. Well, we let the fire go out, obviously. We didn't sleep with the fire going. And we tried to sleep Monday night. And we were all bundled up. I borrowed some space heaters from friends, and I bought a couple of my own, and that kept bedrooms okay while we were bundled under covers and sheets. But it was still getting bad. So Linda called our contractor that works on the unit, and they were already busily working other places, and so they said it would be a few hours. So we went to bed, and about 2:30 or 3 o'clock, the repair guy showed up. 2:33 in the morning. He poked around, he dug around, he looked for everything he could find. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. Everything looked to be working normally. And then he discovered that this thing wasn't actually working. Some of the electricity to it was broken. Some of the circuit connectors had popped. And, so he didn't carry those in his truck. So he had to leave, and this was probably now about 5 o'clock. He'd been poking around for 2 hours, and I'd been hovering over his shoulder, steadily getting colder. The house at this point was in the 40s, and really cold. And so he had to leave because he had yet another repair to go to. And he said he would call in the parts as soon as he could. So then it was the next morning, and it was in the 40s and getting closer to the upper 30s, inside the house, mind you. And I was really worried about the pipes breaking. So for like the last day prior to all this, we'd been dripping faucets all over the house to keep the water moving and try to prevent anything inside the pipes from freezing up. But I was really worried that if the temperature in the house dropped below or to freezing, while the temperature outside the house was below freezing, we surely were going to have pipes break. Because I had had friends around town who were already having pipes broken, and as far as I knew, they weren't having heating problems like we were. So I was sure something bad was going to happen. Anyway, so the next day I went back to work. Well, actually, no, we all left the house because it was terribly uncomfortable. We got a hotel room close to work. We went out and we waited, and we called and we waited and we waited, and we did a little bit of work until the hotel opened up and we could check in. Then we went over to the hotel, unpacked all of our stuff, clothes and some snacks and, games and stuff. I went back to the house a little bit in the afternoon to make sure the pipes hadn't broken while we were gone, and they hadn't. And to pick up a few more things, and then a few more hours after that, we got a call that the part was in and somebody was coming over. So I went back to the house again, watched the guy, a different guy, install the new heating unit, which is that one, and turn everything back on. Now, the heat had been completely off since like 3 in the morning, and it was now 2 the next day, and the weather hadn't gotten any better. And the temperature in the house, according to the thermostat, when it cycled back on, was 33 degrees, just above freezing. Still no pipe breakage, luckily. We'd been dripping and everything. We'd been really lucky, I gotta say. And then the house slowly started to heat up again. And but since we'd already paid for the hotel room and the house was still uncomfortable, as a side note, while I'd been waiting for the guy to do his work in the afternoon, I was sitting upstairs and I was breathing, and you could see the breath coming out of my mouth inside my living room. Pretty weird, I gotta say. But as you can tell, everything is fine again now. The house is operating, is back to normal. The temperature is good. We're lucky. Very, very lucky. We didn't have any pipe problems. It was certainly an adventure, I must say. But I'm glad it's behind us. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. And so that's my story for today. Talk to you again some other time.